Perfect Cell versus Ultimate Aggregor, or Super Perfect Cell versus Ultimate Alien, or these two villains at one point were the most powerful villains within their own series. Both had the whole suspense to them already being strong and them gradually getting stronger as they absorbed people. They have mutated DNA that allows them to use very unique and specific abilities. You get the point. And of course, obviously, they both attained some kind of perfect or ultimate state that allowed them to nearly succeed in their goal, that being universal domination. But who would ultimately come out in this battle between two perfect beings? See what I did there? Oh my god, get the Blackbeard like fire image or whatever. Now I think for this versus battle, I'm going to be taking a different approach to how my usual versus battles go. Instead of yapping about the two characters you guys have probably already heard me mention about in the past time and time again, I'm going to be directly comparing the two in the specific categories against each other. So firstly, I'll be breaking down the first category, that being strength/durability. Cell and Aggregor in this department are strangely very comparable to one another. Baseline, both Aggregor and Cell should be solar system level, as Cell, while performing his Solar Kamehameha, was stated multiple times both in the anime and manga along with the guides to be able to wipe out a solar system. And in a similar case to Cell, Aggregor implies that the entropy pump that wipes out multiple light years would do absolutely nothing once he achieved his ultimate state. The entropy pump explosion is capable of wiping out 2.5 light years, meaning baseline he's withstanding the equivalent of 9.4 Terafoes of energy, which is more than enough energy to wipe out a solar system. When comparing just these two feats alone, we actually do see the numbers being more so in Aggregor's favor. You can argue for Cell's Solar Kamehameha being much higher than Solar, as in Dragon Ball, solar systems do contain galactic nebula, so maybe it could be something closer to like multi-solar systems and possibly galaxy. However, I feel like this level of scaling can be just as applicable with Aggregor, since Ben 10 and Dragon Ball's universes are baseline infinite, meaning potentially if Aggregor is taking a light year bomb, or a bomb that's wiping out 2.5 light years, this explosion realistically would be a lot more powerful than what it baseline is. And to cap this off, both Cell and Aggregor as well both have statements of being capable of wiping out the universe. So even if we wanted to downplay both characters or even highball them, they should be comparable to one another in their respective field. The one thing I will say for Aggregor that he does have against him is that there is a statement of apparently only Ultimate Waybig being capable of taking a solar system level explosion. So if Cell shot the Solar Kamehameha at Aggregor point blank range, he would just get wiped out, right? Well, I don't think it's really as simple as that, considering that a lot of Ben 10 statements can be contradicted by the actual feats presented in the story. And as we know, in power scaling, we take feats over statements at the end of the day. In my honest opinion, if we're being super generous to Cell, they are at best relative with one another, but Aggregor, in my opinion, just has the edge in attack potency. Now let's move on to speed, which is a lot easier to cover unlike strength and durability. Cell's best speed scaling is just saying he's hundreds of thousands of times faster than early light speed scaling we get within Dragon Ball. Whether it's through Goku weaving lasers, Piccolo shooting at the moon, or the filler of Goku weaving meteors, realistically Cell should be combating at well beyond massively faster than light speeds. The most I can say though is he's reaching like maybe a few 100 million times faster than light, if that, which mind you are numbers that Aggregor has reached pretty casually while traveling to other galaxies collecting the map of infinity. And of course, if we say that both Ben 10 and Dragon Ball both have infinite sized universes and Aggregor and Cell could potentially destroy one, then they would have infinite speed by proxy, as any finite number divided by infinity is still infinity. And unlike Cell, Aggregor has actually traveled to places outside of the multiverse, which would give him infinite speed by proxy since the multiverse contains infinite sized timelines. While reasonably they could be compared with Aggregor having the edge once again, Aggregor realistically has the actual feats to show he's faster than Cell and potentially by an infinite degree. So this point also goes to Aggregor. Now the next section is hacks, which to me is probably the toughest one to decide here. You see, Aggregor is capable of utilizing the ridiculous strength of Armadillo, the versatility of Amphibian and Water Hazard, the radiating power of NRG, and the ability to negate mana with Terraspin. With Amphibian, he can turn himself into electricity along with shooting electrical blast that can incapacitate his enemies. Water Hazard allows him to shoot high pressure water attacks along with gaining access to complete hydrokinesis. NRG's powers emit radiation and allows him to shoot highly powered energy blasts. And with Teraspin's powers, he can negate mana, which, mind you, mana is like ki in a sense to where it's your physical and spiritual energy, which could mean theoretically Aggregor could absorb or partially resist Cell's ki attacks. And he has energy absorption already at a decent level considering he is an osmosian. And I also think this is kind of funny because Cell's whole gimmick is absorbing things, so the fact that Aggregor is going to be capable of potentially absorbing Cell's attacks, yeah, that combined with Aggregor's yipper-yapping monologuing, Cell's definitely going to get rage baited in this fight pretty badly. But ultimately, I gotta say Cell probably has the better kit here in general. Not only like Aggregor can he fly, but he has clones that are on his level of strength. He has regeneration so ridiculous that if you do not destroy a singular piece of him, he will just come back and potentially even stronger than ever. He has natural adaptation due to him having Saiyan DNA. He has every move of the Z fighters, including discs that can affect opponents much stronger than himself, and Solar Flare, which is a way to stun your opponent. And if we wanted to pull some strings and say that Cell technically has access to the Spirit Bomb and Kaioken and stuff like that because of the games, then I mean sure, but I mean yeah, we are just not really going to be mentioning Xenoverse here. And with those three sections out of the way, it's pretty clear who our winner is. Even if we just compare the base numbers, Aggregor would be able to legit Broly through Super Perfect Cell's Solar Kamehameha theoretically. He has the durability to not only survive it since the entropy pump calc is much higher than the Solar Kamehameha by a significant margin, but he can absorb the energy of the attack to an extent. The only way Cell really wins is if you highball Cell to universal and infinite speed, and lowball Aggregor and say he's like planet level or something without the entropy pump statement, and realistically he's not solar system level. But like I said, I do think the feats within Ben 10 do prove Aggregor to be much stronger than just planet level. And it's not like within fiction characters can't be planet level and not survive the destruction of a planet anyway. And once again, Ben 10 statements can be a little iffy at times. So if you want to glaze your bum that lost to an 11-year-old, then I mean sure. Aggregor is much smarter, faster, stronger, the next generation of the human race is. Living in my basement. Nah, but seriously, Cell would just meet his end before he'd really get the chance to overwhelm him with his abilities. And like I said, if Aggregor is actually able to absorb his energy and just taunt Cell all the way through, we know how Cell can get. He might just damn near self-destruct because of Aggregor rage baiting him. And Aggregor does not have to stay on that planet or wherever they're fighting at, he can just dip and fly away. And so the W goes to Aggregor.